Good evening. I called October the 11th, 2021 City of North Augusta City Council study session to order. This time I'd like to turn it over to Mr. Clifford.
Thank you, Mr. Meyer. We have 3 items on the meeting notes for tonight. The first will be covering the City Council meeting. Second will be department details, and lastly, Mayor's Matters, where the major focus item will be a Riverside Village update for our quarterly EMA filing. So with that, let me go directly into our City Council meeting agenda items. The first is we'll be recognizing our Employee of the Quarter, name still to be announced, and then we'll be moving into unfinished business. Both of those are packaged together. It's ordinance number 2021-15 and ordinance number 2021-16. Both of those are known as the Mackey properties that are on Martintown Road and abut against Knobcone, and that was for a zoning action to move from R14 large lot single family to R5 mixed residential. The City Council voted on that unanimously at the last council meeting, so this will be the second reading of those items. So I'll pause for any questions on items number 6 and 7 under zoning. No questions heard, and we will move into new business. The vast majority of our new business for the upcoming City Council meeting will be under the Finance Department, which really has to do with our budgeting process for fiscal year 2022. And so those are the next 3 items. So I'll start with ordinance number 2021-17, adopting a budget for fiscal year 2022, containing estimates of proposed revenues and expenditures by the City of North Augusta, South Carolina for budget year beginning January 1st, 2022, and declaring the same shall constitute the budget of the City of North Augusta for such budget year ordinance first reading. So again, for the City Council, we've provided copies of the proposed budget. It is now in the public comment period, and this would be the first opportunity to look at this as an ordinance. There will be next week, 15 minutes prior to the start of the City Council meeting, public input as part of the public hearing. If that happens to run long, that will just push the start of the City Council meeting. But essentially, this is a budget that you all have had the opportunity to see. You have it in your binders. Citizens have the opportunity to come look at a hard copy here at City Hall, and also that's been posted online for comment. So just to put that out there for the collective, that's what's going on with the budget. And so that'll be the first ordinance reading of that, of the two readings of that particular budget for 2022. And I'll pause for any questions that either I can answer or Cammie Hayes can answer. While you're mulling that over, these are related. I can move on to item number 9 under finance, which is ordinance number 2020-18, levying the annual tax on property in the City of North Augusta, South Carolina for the fiscal year beginning January 1st, 2022 and ending December 31st, 2022, ordinance first reading. So again, these are related items, and this, as we discussed in a previous session, would lock in our current millage rate, which would be a net increase of 3.3 mils for our citizens. So instead of doing the rollback, what we're doing is locking the millage in place. And that would pay for a number of the things we've talked about in previous open sessions, which is for additional personnel, for projects, and for a cost of living allowance for the city employees. And then also related in item number 10 under finance, ordinance number 2020-19, amending Article 4, Section 14-123, title Sanitation Service Fees of the City Code of the City of North Augusta, South Carolina, ordinance first reading. So again, this allows us to amend and change our sanitation rates. Very small change, a small increase for our sanitation rates here in the City of North Augusta. And again, either Cammie or James Sutton can talk through what that requires. But again, those items 8, 9, and 10 are all interrelated with this year's upcoming budget.
I've just got a quick question. Just curious, I don't have an issue with the rates or anything, but why are we providing service outside of the city limits? Is it, I mean, are we making money on it, or is it just out of curiosity? Yeah, no, I see it's more. I just wanted to, that's why I was asking. I know a lot of times like sports registration and all that stuff, but we don't have to actually go out, so I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, that's not a net money loser for the city. We provide outside services outside the city limits in some limited areas, but again, at a higher rate.
Okay, thank you.
If there are no other questions or concern items, I'll move to item number 11. Under Engineering and Public Works, this is resolution number 2021-43, authorizing a professional services contract for construction engineering and inspection services for the Knobcone Avenue Sidewalk and Greenway Extension, Woodstone to Mayfield projects. So this is something that Tom Zeser brought to us from engineering, and this allows us to enter into a contract for these services. And as we've gone through the Knobcone Sidewalk project, Department of Transportation from South Carolina has levied a number of fairly new requirements about geotechnical services, environmental services, and outside contracts to take a look at the project that we have doing. So something that looks pretty simple in my mind, which is laying a sidewalk on Knobcone, is a lot more complex than I could have possibly imagined. And so this is going to allow us to meet all of the SCDOT check marks, if you will, or this is one of a few that allows us to meet these check marks, to have outside contractors basically verify the construction that we're looking to accomplish. And so this will allow us to at least move one step closer to moving forward on Knobcone.
Project that never ends.
Well, and I brought that up before, and the school, especially North Augusta High School, knows when this starts, because that is a mess in the afternoons. Okay, so,
We're still trying to find out what it's.
I mean, because they might really need to open that other road onto White Bark versus everybody coming out on Knobcone like it is. No, it might. I have yet to see a project start in the summer. Most of them start when school starts, and it's a mess. So,
Those are the ones by the school district.
well, no, I'm telling you, just be sure North Augusta High School and Paul Knox, when this comes about, knows.
I'll make sure our engineering department has some notifications out to the schools.
And can you just clarify on the Greenway Extension piece, Woodstone and Mayfield project, is that part of the land that was donated by North Augusta Forward? That
I believe
finally
so, sir.
We're moving forward with that piece?
Yes, so that if you take the Greenway to the current northern terminus, it drops into the backside of a neighborhood into a cul-de-sac. And so what this would do is move the Greenway, not a whole lot, quite frankly, but some, move it further north onto, so it would terminate on the Mayfield Drive, with the hopeful intent of being able to connect, probably through a bike lane as opposed to a pure Greenway between that and eventually the country club property. But there's still work to be done there. But this really just allows us to, instead of terminating the Greenway into that neighborhood, allows us to extend it into Mayfield Drive. Subject to any other questions, I'd like to at least end on some good news, because I typically don't. And so today, this is the item number 12, permit resolution number 2021-44, to authorize the issuing of a parade permit to North Augusta Lions Club to conduct the 2021 Christmas parade on Sunday, December the 5th of 2021. All right, unless there's any questions, that concludes item number 1, which is our city council meeting. And if I can, I'll move to item number 2, which is our department details. And that would be led off by Ms. Cam Hayes, our finance director.
Birthday girl.
I just have 2 quick updates this evening. On October 18th, it'll be a due date for our customers in Cycle 2, and on October 20th and 21st, it will be a disconnect for Cycle 1. And that's all I have this evening, unless you have any questions.
Thanks, Cammie. Next will be planning and development with Tommy Paradise.
I'm trying to be like Cammie. I've only got 2 also. Ms. Garvin, part-time employee in building standards. She's been hired to be the full-time secretary for the planning department. She'll come to work on October 27th. And the agenda for the Planning Commission's October 21st meeting will be posted on Thursday. We'll go out on Thursday.
Next will be followed by Chief Thomas, Public Safety.
Just a couple of things. The Commission on Accreditation for Law Enforcement Agencies, which is CALEA, we will entertain those people virtually for our reaccreditation process, which takes place the week of October 25th. So we've talked to those people at length a couple of times, and we will continue to meet with them virtually and talk about our strengths, which they'll call and talk to people either by phone or we'll do it by GoToMeetings, Zoom, that type of thing. So that should be the last piece of that process, and it'll be about a month before we get notification and then receive accreditation again. Also, just this time of year, we're doing the public safety trunk or treat. We're going to do that at Review Park this Saturday, as a matter of fact, the 16th from 5 to 7. So it'll be a drive-through. So try to have no contact if possible, and we're going to pass out lots of candy to all the kids. So please come by 5 to 7.
Now, where will it be? Like in the,
It'll be in a parking lot there, close to
Which-
Activity Center. Is that right, Rick? I assume right there where they park the trailers and everything.
now, while we're on the subject of Halloween, I've had several, are we going to observe as a city Halloween Sunday night, October 31st? Huh?
That's what I've been told.
Okay, all right. Well, I told them over the years, we never changed that.
Councilwoman,
It was observed
I
on the
appreciate
day.
it. Thanks for bringing this up. We've had some media inquiries, and some citizens have asked also about so if I'm stealing the mayor's thunder, I apologize, but
Don't say anything.
the city does not have a policy currently on establishing an alternate date to Halloween. So if Halloween's on a Tuesday, that's the day the kids go trick-or-treating.
Right on.
And then Sunday is Halloween, and so that's the day
Go
I'm
trick or
planning
treat.
on putting my kids in their Star Wars getup and going to see, where they can get some candy. So that's the current policy. We can certainly have a discussion on it here in study session, but I believe that's where we're at right now. So if you, as the council members, get asked, the city has not set an alternate date for trick-or-treating or anything along those lines.
I think we had this happen not that long ago. It was only about 4 or 5 years ago, and
6 years
most people did Sundays
Hey, if you
as
can get
well.
candy on Saturday too, go for it.
Yeah, let's do
I don't know,
both.
Chief's got the good candy. I might come by there. There we go. None of that candy corn stuff.
Now, thank you, Council. Did that answer your question, Councilwoman Carpenter?
Well, that's what I told this person we had never changed it, and I presume it'd be same this year, so thank you.
That's correct. Thank you, Councilwoman. And next will be followed by Rick Meyer from PRT.
Okay, for PRT, the city's new tourism team will launch this week, consisting of 3 full-time employees. PRT, as you're aware, realigned 3 existing positions to work together on this team. And that includes the community center coordinator, the event coordinator, and the tourism and marketing coordinator. The team will work full-time out of the community center and will book and manage events, promote the city through social media and other outlets, and work with our various partners to promote community events. So we're excited about that, get them started this week. PRT also has a lot of new faces working our youth athletic programs this fall. New program coordinator, if you have not met her, is Lyda Gregg. Lyda spent the last 18 years working with the City of Augusta Parks and Recreation Department, brings lots of experience to our department. She is currently working with the youth football and cheerleading program. Our new center program coordinators are Derek Nelson and Alex Baker. Derek has been promoted up from a part-time center coordinator to his new full-time role and is coordinating the youth soccer program this fall. And Alex Baker will be working with the youth volleyball program. And we have one more spot to fill. And I'm going to add one last note. We've been following the weather with our splash pads. We had extended their openings this year. And if you look, this is a great week to be at the splash pad. But come this weekend, the temperatures start to change. So Sunday will be our last day. So next Monday we'll close both Summerfield Park and Riverview Park splash pads.
What's the status on the gazebo?
Yes, so.
Somebody asked me about that, and I hope they hadn't started being built because I hadn't seen it.
No. They have gone out there, streets and drains and property maintenance, and they're preparing the area
Okay.
for the pad. So won't be too much longer now. And
Great.
yes.
Thank
Anybody
you,
else?
Rick.
Thank y'all.
Thank you. And one item for as an alibi for Rick, the tourism team will actually be based out of the community center. So that's where we're hoping to get some synergy with having those three individuals together at the community center to be able to work through a myriad of kind of initiatives. And so ultimately, where you've seen the events coordinator working upstairs here in the Palmetto Terrace on the 4th floor of City Hall, that function will move to the community center, and that's where that team will reside full time. With that, I'll turn it over to Tom Zeser from Engineering Public Works.
So a few weeks ago, you were visited by some residents of Bentley Place complaining with some storm drainage complaints that they were experiencing there. Just to let you know that today, Streets and Drains began a small project to hopefully provide some relief to those residents. We identified a drainage inlet that we were able to modify with not a whole lot of effort and materials to allow it to pass the debris that had been previously clogging up their inlets there. So again, with not a whole lot of costs, we believe we would provide some relief to that neighborhood.
I saw Ms. Henson the other day, and she just spoke very highly of the city and y'all jumping on top of it and everything. So very pleased.
Right.
So
We're glad
thank
we
you.
were able to
She was very excited about
resolve
that.
that
And
quickly.
was it actually clogged? We saw the picture, and I said, was it clogged, or is it that much rain, or a combination of both?
Oh, it's both, but the type of grade inlets that they had there just had very small openings, and the amount of rain was washing their landscape mulch out into the roadways and basically just plugging up the inlets. So we put a different type of inlet in with an unobstructed opening. So.
That's just a perfect example of public powwow. Someone came to us, shared his concern, and we were able to fix it. So that's why we do it.
All right,
Thank you,
last but
Tom.
not least is JD from HR.
Good evening, everyone. Just my, again, biweekly plug of northaugusta.net/jobs. We have vacancies listed there on our website, and I just wanted to let you know that our hiring managers are working really hard, and we're filling positions quickly, but we do still have some vacancies out there.
All right, council members, that wraps up item number 2, department details. And now we can move into mayor's matters, and I will yield the floor back to the mayor for the first item, and then we'll present with Cammie Hayes, our finance director, for our quarterly Riverside Village financial update.
I only have one comment. Just want to give out an update. As you know, last week we opened up the survey for the river event, and briefly we have a citizen committee, and they have taken all of the ideas that people gave over a 2-month period, and they have broken those down into 3 main categories. And now the survey is 3 simple questions, and in a week we've already got 308 surveys, which is great. But we have a city of 25,000 people, so it'd be nice to get in double digits in the next 3 weeks. So, but still very excited about 308 surveys. And what I would ask of you, if you're on Facebook, please share that. I have sent an email to both First Baptist and Grace asking them to put this information out in their newsletter. I hadn't had a chance to talk to Kevin yet to see if he can help me with Fairview. But if anybody has a contact, so, you know, and we've got hard copies, I believe we're going to put those downstairs. So let's get these numbers up, because again, we're not doing it, the citizens are. So, but anyway, I'm excited about this so far. So that's all I've got.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. With that, I'm going to yield the floor to Cammie Hayes, our finance director, to talk through the EMA filing for our quarterly update for Riverside Village.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you.
We provided paper copies for you this evening on the quarterly update. The screen isn't currently working, but we were able to put it in a PowerPoint format, so those that are viewing online will actually be able to see the data tables as we go through them. As stated before, this is a voluntary filing that the city is doing. We do have a required annual filing that is done after our December 31st numbers are audited every year. So this is unaudited data for the quarter ended September 30th of 21. The first paragraph there on the disclosure is a paragraph written by our bond counsel and is recommended to keep on all of our voluntary filings. The first table remains unchanged from the second quarter. This table on the assessed value of taxable property, it is updated with the audited data every year as we finalize our tax year. The second table is our tax rates table. This table will get updated when we adopt the budget for 2022, along with the next table, which shows the city's general fund budget. We will update this table once you adopt the new budget. The next table is the 10 largest taxpayers in the city. Again, this table is updated annually as we close out our fiscal year, so it remains unchanged from the second quarter. As well as the following table, the tax collection record of the city, also updated annually. The next table is also pulled from our audited data. It is the outstanding debt of the city, remains unchanged from the second quarter. So we'll move into the identified sources of installment payments, where we do get into quarterly changes. The first table, the total does remain unchanged. It is for our general obligation bonds. Just as a reminder, this amount is for the money that was borrowed for public safety headquarters and is paid back by sales tax 4. This number will stay the same through the rest of this year. We will make our first principal payment in March of 2022. So we're currently making interest-only payments on that debt. Local hospitality tax does have a change from our second quarter filing. For first through third quarters of 2021, we're at $1.6 million. What I've done previously is gone back and looked at 2019, kind of skipped the COVID year when we're looking at comparisons, and we're up 18% from 2019. As you can see, we're almost at our total collections for 2020, so we're on track to meet budget and exceed that number even by next month. So the next table is our local accommodations tax. One thing I will say, sorry, about the hospitality tax is 1% is currently used for debt service, but we do have a 2% hospitality tax, just a reminder on that. Local accommodations taxes, currently the accommodations taxes collected in Riverside Village are dedicated towards debt service, but this amount is going to reflect accommodations taxes collected throughout our city. Current collections are at $175,491. We are currently on track with our 2019 numbers for the third quarter. The next table shows our tax increment revenues. If you're looking at this as compared to the second quarter, you'll notice a slight decrease in the number. And that is because there were some tax adjustments made by the Aiken County Assessor's Office that resulted in a refund of collections, and we were working with the Assessor's Office on that. It was not material. It did not impact us in our ability to make our debt service payments. So we are continuing to work with them. It was a few parcels that are located in the Municipal Improvement District, and so we've reminded them that not only are those parcels in our TIF district, they also are overlaid with a MID, and also we have some intergovernmental agreements. So it gets a little more complicated when adjustments are made on those parcels, and so we have a better process in place to have upfront communications and before we have to kind of go and backtrack on those. So we are continuing to collect in our TIF district. It just looks a little different if you're comparing to last quarter.
But tell a little bit why that number is so high if people are looking at it.
Sure. So first through third quarters, it shows 3.7 million, which is much higher than we had in the prior year of 1.7. As you'll recall, we did collect 2 years' worth of taxes for those parcels in Riverside Village, including the mid-payments, penalties, interest, that were collected. And so those were collected at the first part of 2021, so that's why that number is so significant for 1 year.
Thank you.
The mid assessments table remains unchanged. We collected the mid, as mentioned, for both years at one time, so that's reflected in the receipts for first through third quarter of 1.5 million. We will bring the mid to you for approval in January, February of next year for next year's tax year. For parking revenues, first through third quarter, we are currently around $69,000. In 2019, we were at $126,000. This is reflective of a new parking deck down there that the city is not benefiting from. We're still collecting a little more than half. We are not currently meeting projections, but it's not prohibiting us from being able to meet our debt payments. We've talked about that in the past, and you've had a presentation from our financial advisors that showed, parking revenues being zeroed out. And as long as other things were sustaining, the city still had ability to meet debt service payments, and staff continues to work towards, revisiting the master parking agreements and making changes. And we would certainly recommend looking at updating the financial model once all of that gets updated as well. The next table is our stadium revenues. We did add some admissions tax from the last quarter. Admissions tax we will continue to see that number increase through the end of the year. We receive that money from two different sources, and the way they time it and remit it to us, they do not match up. So it kind of rolls in periodically, but we will continue to see increases in that number. The corporate naming rights is currently at zero. That payment is not due until December 31st. So we will collect that in the fourth quarter.
Cammie, do you with number 2, performance license fees, since that is paid in January of next year for the prior calendar year, our guesstimate would be that number should increase going forward because the Green Jackets played, right?
That's right. Since they're playing baseball, we would certainly expect it to be up from $4,200, which was reflective of COVID year attendance and events.
Thank you.
Sure. In summary, I always like to end on positive news. So our November 1st payment is a little over $2.3 million, and we'll be making that payment this week. We have enough cumulative collections on hand to make that payment. Our May 1st payment in 2022 will be about $1.6 million, and we already have enough cumulative collections on hand to make that payment. So as of October 1, we have begun collections on our November 2022 payment, and so we'll continue to keep you updated as we obtain enough collections to meet that debt service requirement as well. So we are in that savings account status. I know Councilman Toole had referred to it as that, and that's the place that we want to be. And so we are continuing to be there. We're collecting now for future payments, so we're accumulating revenue in a savings type position. This document will be posted on the city's website under financial transparency section. It can also be found by visiting the Emma website. It's emma.msrb. If you're looking for it specifically, you'll need to look under the North Augusta Public Facilities Corporation. And that's all I have, unless you have any questions.
Thank you, Cammie. All thing I'm going to say is I think it's important for folks out there watching to realize that as of today, I think if you listen to what Cammie said, things are not dire. We're still working off a conservative model. As she mentioned, the November payments in the bank, May's in the bank. You can very much look at the trends of both the hospitality and accommodations tax. Those numbers are very positive. We have another new restaurant opening down with the steakhouse in the near future. Southbound's opened a new restaurant. So those are going to continue to help those numbers. I think Cammie made a comment that I just wanted to clarify. Everybody talks about the parking, but that model, is in the model, but, we have a set revenue showing, but each component, but the other sources are generating the revenue we need. And I think that's very important. So the bottom line, in my opinion, is we are not where we want to be in the future, but we're in a good place today, and I think we're all optimistic about the future. So thank you, Cammie, for giving everybody that update, and all that will be posted online, right? Okay. Any comments from anybody? Okay.
Mr. Mayor, this concludes the staff presentations for our study session, and I turn it back to you and council.
Okay. Any final comments from anybody? You good? Mr. McGee, you good? Pat, you got all your questions answered? Y'all good? Mayor Pro Tem? Okay. All right. Thank you, everybody. Y'all have a good evening. We stand adjourned.